White man behind a desk, Robbie Nicol's next venture gets even more chaotic. Robbie Nicol will recreate White Man Behind a Desk in front of a live show at Circa Theatre. What started out as a simple idea to copy the likes of The Daily Show's Jon Stewart has landed White Man Behind a Desk in front of a live stage. Wellington's Robbie Nicol, 23, is the man behind a popular YouTube channel of the same name that pokes slapstick fun at politicians and anything relevant to New Zealand. Now he's coming from the screen to the stage with White Man Behind a Desk, Live, which will run for 5 nights at Circa Theatre from June 6. It's expected to be a sellout, after Nicol won the 2017 New Zealand International Comedy Festival's Best Newcomer from Wellington award, and it produced 6 sellouts while it ran at Bats Theatre during the festival. White Man Behind a Desk's YouTube videos discuss Kiwi hot topics such as the TPPA, Auckland's housing crisis and an explanation of the Treaty of Waitangi and Te Reo, all in a chaotic and entertaining setting. Don't expect that chaos to change in front of a live audience, Nicol says. Robbie Nicol said he comes from a loud family passionate about community and politics. The show, written by himself and Phineas Deppet, is a natural progression from his YouTube sensation. The construct of the show, not to spoil it too much, is that we have an hour and we are trying to film a bunch of stuff in the space as quickly as possible, he explains. So there is a camera person, we've got a tech operator, and there is the first assistant director running the show, who's trying to keep everything ticking along and keep to time. Robbie Nicol, the White Man Behind a Desk. What was great about that was, that on opening night, it still felt like an extension of the writing process. It still felt like we were brainstorming and throwing out ideas, and the show was quite alive. The show is very aware of the audience. It's like a studio. The studio audience has a role to play. We're very aware of them and talk to them directly, but it felt like the studio audience was another character and we were all just improvising and coming up with the funniest joke in the moment. So because it felt really playful and because it's such a fun show to do, the nerves didn't get too intense because I can be a nervous dude. The latter isn't so obvious. The former Onslow College boy, a school whose other claim to fame is filmmaker Taika Waititi, came from a family with loud dinners. Being the youngest, he had to raise his hand to get a word into the conversation, but it was there he developed his passion for politics and comedy. Since kicking off his YouTube channel, and aside from making new fans, he has also gained a lot of interest in the way he speaks. So much, Nicol even included an explanation on his show 5 Things You Need to Know About White Man Behind a Desk, about why he speaks with an exotic accent in a nasal kind of way. It's funny when you are you, because you aren't always aware of how other people are perceiving you. Now I am aware, he says. I think part of it is watching a lot of comedy. Like, Josh Thomas, Who's an Australian guy, who's got the same thing that people don't know where who's from and are confused that who's just an Aussie. I think part of it was listening to British comedians growing up and then trying to make my voice funnier. Like the whole Rowan Atkinson thing, you know how he talks a bit weird and talking strange makes him funnier. Now, it's just how my voice sounds. I've spent more time explaining my voice than I thought I would. Has also done his fair share of defending Prime Minister Bill English. In response to Last Week Tonight host John Oliver's ridicule of Prime Minister Bill English, Radio New Zealand asked Nicol to pen an open letter to the talk show host. He wrote, "I would try to take you on myself, but I have roughly 3 subscribers on a YouTube channel I film in a bedroom at my parents' house. That was sufficient for a national newspaper to call me the Kiwi John Oliver. I hope this gives you a sense of scale. In fact, our country as a whole is too small to respond to your continued barrage of comedy." Last year, the company that owns your network, Time Warner, had a revenue of roughly 17% of our nation's gross domestic product. And that was a good year for us. Yes, I know it's surprising, but the ponytail-pulling man with the dildo minister was extremely popular. Imagine how bad at PR you have to be to look worse than that. You are now imagining Bill English. New Zealanders might only be aware of John Oliver from his recent pokes at our little country, but Nicol prefers a comparison with The Daily Show's Jon Stewart. But obviously we are heavily influenced by the Jon Stewarts and the John Olivers and the Stephen Colberts and the Charlie Brookers and the Samantha Bees and the Trevor Noahs. There's a whole plethora of people who are working the same field, and I think all of them, a little bit, are doing impressions of Jon Stewart because he was so good at it, he says. In recent years, online bloggings or vlogging has taken off, with more and more young people sharing their opinions, talents and shows with the wider internet community. Shay Ankso is New Zealand's most popular vlogger, who shares her makeup secrets to 2 million plus subscribers. While Nicol isn't near that number, he has nearly 7,000. He says vlogging has its restraints and would advise other young people who are looking to take up the project to choose your subject wisely. "I think it's a big commitment. Definitely don't do a topical news series, because you can't prepare a bunch of content in advance and then release it at regular intervals," he says. "You have to create it as you go, and that's a big time commitment." With his show making it to TVNZ's On Demand, and him now performing live, Nicol says he would like to experiment with his type of comedy and see where his current wave of fortune takes him. "The goal is to keep doing projects that allow me to do different types of comedy so I can figure out what my voice is and how I'm funniest. I'm still only 23, so it's early days to be defined as that one style of comedy," he says. "Hopefully, we get to do this live show more. We're also creating videos out of that live show. As we get nearer to election time, I think the show will get a little more election focused and people will care more, which is good for us." White Man Behind a Desk, live is being performed nightly at 7 8:30 p.m. at Circa Theatre from June 6 to 10.